Is Sakamoto an alien form of life? Is he some kind of messiah? His perfection might be a little more than something to laugh about, and even more complex than comedy. Here I found some hints that may allude to the fact that this manga is not as funny and shallow as it might seem in the first place. Sakamoto polishes his school desk with a robotic and repetitive movement of his arm. Does this imply that he is acting accordingly to a plan that requests him to be less human as possible? Akin and the other Yankees try to bully Sakamoto at school. They start smoking their cigarettes outside the room where they lure him, yet the packet abandoned in the middle of nowhere catches fire when they're done smoking without an apparent reason. Does this imply that Sakamoto can turn events for the best at his own will? The sidestep jump technique they use to extinguish the flames looks like a tribal ritual, plus Sakamoto looks more confident than ever. Is he some kind of magic aficionado? He has perfect control of his body in every weather imaginable. He rescues animals, avoids lightning, floods with a magnificent ease. Why is he so gifted? Here's an interesting fact. Sakamoto is speaking in class about the Hachiro Rebellion. This is very much linked to Confucianism, since this historical figure was a samurai for the authorities in Osaka, who found the government and especially the city magistrates to be corrupt beyond evil. He was a Confucianism scholar and asked the government to help citizens after a huge famine who left everybody starving, and eventually led his own army of students and workers to achieve equality. The outcome seems very similar to Sakamoto's, as our impeccable student is always trying effortlessly to improve the quality of life and perception of themselves of his classmates. Confucianism is deeply linked to human action as an embodiment of sacredness, even in daily routines. And it is indeed through little gestures that Sakamoto helps his peers. In Confucianism, also, the one who wants to achieve enlightenment has to master the art of thought-gaining knowledge, which is exactly what Sakamoto is trying to do by observing human nature. This becomes noticeable when Sakamoto agrees to be possessed psychically, becoming a fox, to teach school friends reciprocity, studying at the same time human interactions, displaying a certain detachment from our race. This led many to speculate that he is an alien. An event that brings more credit to Sakamoto as a creature invisible in his prime, and probably virtual projection of perfection, is the encounter with Kubota's mother, with whom he has to pretend to be a virtual citizen of another world. Recall, however, that, despite this his alleged incorporeity, Sakamoto loves interacting with animals, just like Saint Francis of Assisi. It's a charismatic leader of some kind? Sakamoto, at some point, will disappear in front of his classmates. It seems the withdrawal of a messiah from public life to meditate, to go away taking care of others around the world, as indeed he does. Events such as the sign of his face on the clay tablet given to Hayabusa, which refers to the shroud, and the performance of subliminal gestures impossible for a human, just to help the cook to offer a certain variety of unpopular food to students, are other indications that represent Sakamoto a pleasant abnormalities. During a meeting with two other boys and girls, Sakamoto sings the Rilkonig. This song is poignant, and tells about a dying child carried by his father away. The kid begins to rave because of the pain, seeing a mysterious king of the elves, then he dies. That this also refers to the unknown genesis and family history of Sakamoto, since it is not mentioned. Who might he be? Sakamoto also said he had never seen snow. It means that for certain reasons it was so sick that he could not leave the hospital, or he might have been confined in a country with warm temperatures. Even Kubota, his best friend, admits he does not know anything, not even his blood type, an essential information in Japan to inquire about the character of a person. Sakamoto also talk of space migration projects, possibly a metaphor for his death. It is possible that he is suffering from an incurable disease, which could partly explain the cryptic "count the holes in the ceiling of the infirmary." This means that it was lying down sick for a long time. His poker face could derive from resignation, from a great knowledge acquired by the constant practice of the Confucius thought, or simply from a human study conducted in the shoes of an alien. Like every leader, he also has its vastness of disciples, in a more or less religious sense, the beloved Kubota, the converted Atsushi, Hayabusa, Sora and many others. In Chapter 24 from the manga, Sakamoto is also portrayed as if he had been placed in a coffin, with his arms folded. Sakamoto is also seen from Kubota's point of view with benevolence and affection. Might this behavior be a compensatory fantasy that led him to create the perfect imaginary friend? Does Sakamoto actually exist? His face, finally, seems strangely disturbed in the ending. Sakamoto indulges in sadness, something that had never happened before. He knows that he will die and, like Hayabusa points out, has told everybody a lie talking about a simple transfer overseas. Who knows, he says. The episode 13 is finally titled Sakamoto Deshita, that means Iwa Sakamoto. That could mean that he's already dead, and he finds himself living another life, experience the same patterns in bullying, but Sakamoto faces everything calmly and nonchalantly as he did in his previous life. Sakamoto landed in America is already dead. What we are witnessing right now is the unraveling of his many possible lives, as if he was constantly reincarnated, hence explaining his invincible perfection.